what I wanted to talk to you about is I personally just went through and dealt with my first active duty being med sept to the VA, or from active duty to veteran status. Um, they have a proposed memorandum and all that stuff. I had to submit, the proposed memorandum so that the COE was updated. I just want to show you what the process looked like and how big of a headache it was, um, and how we got around it. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. All right. So here, I submitted the proposed memorandum into the VA portal. They provided me a COE that came back non-exempt in development. Now, if I have a proposed memorandum, that means, or I'm sorry, if I have a proposed rating memorandum, that means that there is some sort of VA disability compensation going on, right? Which means in development, yes. If there is a proposed rating, there will be a specific percentage and or dollar amount that will be on the letter. Okay, that letter, along with VA form 268937. These two documents must be uploaded to the VA portal in order for the VA to actually take action on this. Okay. That in development means they're doing research. When they do research, they meaning the VA Regional Loan Center, transfers it out to the Veteran Service Center. Veteran Service Center is a completely different element. Think of the Veteran Service Center as they are neurotransmitters in the VA. Okay, they can reach across all departments and connect. Okay, that's the best way I can explain it to you. But the Veteran Service Center has to verify with VA Disability that there is a proposed memorandum, so on and so forth. That's why you need both of them, because the veteran must sign the 8937 and that's uploaded. Okay, this is, if you don't know what the 8937 is, this is exactly what it looks like. Just a verification of VA benefits. The big thing is that he must hereby certify that I have filed a claim for VA disability benefits prior to discharge for active duty service. Okay. This is what prompts the VA Regional Loan Center to take action. Okay. When I received back the third non-exempt in development COE, I said, what the hell? The whole purpose of submitting a proposed memorandum rating is so that they're exempt from the VA funding fee, right? Well, then if you read the conditions down below on the COE, again, it says clear as mud, because again, we're dealing with the VA. So I ended up having to call, wait on hold for 20 freaking minutes, and I got this. Brand new COE. He's now exempt, special monthly compensation, no awards. All the other conditions are gone. All right. But it's because I knew I was right and I kept calling. I mean, I'm not kidding when I tell you I had a conversation with the VA about 8 separate occasions in regards to this file. Okay. If you know your shit, make sure you advocate for your veteran buyers. All right. The VA is hiring people all day, or hiring new people every day. All right. We heard it from Stephanie. That there's a whole bunch of new blood that's in the VA, so they're gonna be wrong. So if you know your shit and you know you're right, you must toe the line. And that's what we did here. Now this veteran is going to be a homeowner without having to deal with any sort of exemptions or refunds or anything like that. All right. Any questions? No? Okay. That's all I had for you.
The big thing on that, Brad, is just knowing up front that if you got active duty and they have not even put a claim in, they're not going to get a funding fee refund. And even if they've got a claim in, they're still not going to get a funding fee refund. The only way to close active duty for them to not pay a funding fee is if you go through this process Brad just described. You can look at the circular, but referencing what you just talked about on the call is going to help you. at the end of the day, you have to close that loan without the funding fee if they're active duty. So the refund concept on a funding fee is still similar to what we've learned in the past and what we all know on or for veterans, for folks that are out of active duty, they can still file their claims and they can still potentially get a funding fee back. Now, I think
Now, here's where it gets confusing, okay? Because you're going to have a proposed memorandum rating. This proposal will have veteran is proposed to be 100% anticipated monthly payment, 3,009, whatever, okay? The COE will always say $0, like in receipt of $0 in compensation until when? Does anybody know when? You know when this actually kicks in? Think about who we're
Separate and
dealing with
start
here.
receiving it. Once they start
Bingo.
receiving, actually
All right.
separate and receive it.
Correct. Now that's where the guidelines come into play, right? Where or otherwise in receipt of VA disability compensation. This is where it applies, right? As a I mean, the V in VA is veteran. Veteran means somebody who enlisted in active duty and or reserve and was released. They served their obligation, right? If they are on an active duty, how the shit are they going to get paid as a veteran still? You can't double dip, right? So as long as they are active duty, this COE will always say $0. Okay, because they can't be in receipt of both payments. Okay, so once they're released or discharged, the funding fee will still be exempt, and now we can use now the 3,900 and whatever dollars is going to appear on the COE. Don't let that discourage you to think that you cannot use that income. You can absolutely use that income from the proposed memorandum. And I just had this argument with our underwriter. I know the word proposed in the mortgage industry is a very, very scary word. Proposed in the VA space is actually a really good thing, right? I mean, it's going to be proposed until it's actually final. You know, we can absolutely use it. And I provided all the guidelines and everything. This veteran's going to be a homeowner without having to deal with any of this shit, which is great. And I wanted to share it with you guys.
Good stuff, Brad. Good stuff. I still see folks out there missing that, or and again, just make sure you know in your head, active duty, you're talking about the disability process with them. You're reading that COE. It's laid out a lot clearer in today's certificates of eligibility than it used to be in the past. So, I mean, I've had veterans question me on it, and I've literally cut and paste from that circular and from the COE that I pulled and try to explain to them how the process worked. And I'm a big fan of not blaming the VA, but certainly telling the veteran, like, this is exactly how it works. This is what we need to do. If you don't do these things, I don't believe you're going to get it. Ultimately, it's the VA's say on whether you get a refund in the end. But I'm pretty sure, based on reading all these things and former clients I've worked with, that you're not going to get a funding fee refund. Well, my friend said, I understand, but there was a policy change after your friend closed, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. So, anywho, cool. All right,
Nathan Nix.
go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Stinson, I don't know if you answered this. Now on the memorandum, did you say that it states what their disability pay will be, just not on the COE, obviously, because the veteran's not going to receive it until they separate. When
Correct.
it comes to utilizing future income, are we able to at least can we utilize the memorandum as documentation for income if they are going to be separating within a close proximity of time, so that we can use both if we have a memorandum, one for their medical, if they're being medically retired, and then as well as receiving disability, are those pays able to be utilized? Both.
Well, think about it, man. I mean, he's going to be receiving he or she's going to be receiving active duty pay until they get out. And once they get out, they're going to be receiving that 3,009.
Right.
So I think it's a mountain out of a molehill is what you're doing, right? But you can absolutely make or use the proposed rating, because that's going to be a forever benefit.
Okay. That's a question. That was a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Now, I'm going to dive into what I see a lot of folks in the mortgage.
Can you guys grab that Holbrook call?
Oh, sorry, bud. The mortgage coaching training, like branch manager space. Like everyone's like, oh, get your business plan. Like get ready for next year. We've only got how many business days left in the year? 26, 25, something like that. And so if you don't have a loan in process right now, yeah, I get it. You still maybe have a few more weeks to find another loan or two. But for many of us this year, whatever we got in process is pretty darn close to closing, and we need to move on to next year. I'm not the only one in saying that. Most of you already know that. Many of you already done business planning, all those kind of things. But I want to spend a few minutes today just being really clear for those of you who really do want to do more VA loans. Everybody on this call, you want to do more VA loans? Yes. Thumbs up. Put in the comment. Yes. Yes. I mean, you just come here because you're friends and you like Brad. That's cool too. But I think at the end of the day, we're all here because we want to do more VA loans, right? Yes. Okay. So I had spent a couple days with my friends Carl White and Cindy Ertman, and our whole company had a big thing. And I'm like, what can I pull out of this that's going to be helpful for the folks in VMA? Like, what can I pull out of these dinners and meetings and presentations from some of this, in theory, smarter minds in the industry that work with a lot of people that close a lot of loans, sitting at tables with loan officers that do hundreds of millions. And some of them don't do as many VA loans as we do. But at the end of the day, the concepts about how to bring in more loans are pretty similar when we dive into it. And so I think the conversation should actually start with number one, where do loans come from? Brad, where do loans come from? It's not like I'm asking you where babies come from. It's not that hard of a question, right?
They rain from the rain.
Right. Well, that's what my newer friend this year, Kevin, even though known a long time, we've been a lot better friends this year, it keeps saying like hopium is not a drug that we should be taking in the mortgage industry. We can't just hope we get more loans. We have to be intentional about what we're doing and where our loans are coming from. So Carl shared this with me, and this is something I think is important to understand. For the average consumer in America, if you go back and poll people after they close, I don't think this is broken out for vets and civilians, but my guess is there's going to be a few differences in the vet field. But for most people in America, 35% of the people buying a home, when polled how they found their lender, are going to say real estate agent. That's a recent poll. 27% are going to say friends and family. 14% are going to say they went to their bank. 3% they found their LO on social media. 7% said other. I don't even know what that means. 2% just went with the home builder. And so when I go through these numbers, and I'm trying to understand where all this stuff comes from. Oh, I missed online search. That's about 12%. A few things stand out to me. Number one, even if the vet versus or VA versus conventional are slightly different, if we did have some specific veteran polls, I still have to believe that a large percentage of the VA loans are coming from the top 3 or the top 4. So, number 1, real estate agent. Number 2, friends and family or referrals. Number 3, bank. And number 4, online search. So maybe the online search is a little higher in the veteran space. We always talk about competing with Navy Fed and Veterans United. But at the end of the day, I still find personally in my business that a lot of the vets are coming to me through referrals of other clients, which at some point, I'm not going to call them past clients. I'm just going to call them friends, right? That's kind of the goal, is to get these people to like you, trust you, send you business. So getting more people in your database that refer you, that become your friends and family, cool. So step 1 is understanding where the loans come from. Now, every time when I do an elite call and I ask like who wants to participate, unless Alex is on the call, everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to talk. But does anybody want to share their personal breakdown of where they think, or has anyone actually measured where their loans come from? And it's a tough question, right? And I asked that question on purpose because most of us don't know. We don't track it. We don't think about it, right?
Mine's mostly from social media.
Okay. So yours is mostly so this is, I'm glad you said this because this is exactly what I wanted to talk about next, which is the methods of getting loans from these different sources. And social media, if you poll the folks, the number is 2 or 3 or 4%. And what I think I'm finding is that a lot of times the things people are getting off social media are coming because of a friend and family connection or from a real estate connection or from something online about the loan officer where the person was able to do more of an online search. Yes, they might have used social media in some way, shape, or form, but the other components about how the business came to you matter. And the reason I want to talk about that, like these methods, is that I feel like a lot of times LOs think if I just do these posts and I just do these social media, my whole business is going to change. I don't ever have to talk to my past clients or talk to real estate agents ever again, or even like worry about my Google reviews, right? And I'm just telling you guys that most of the loan officers in America are getting most of their business from real estate agents, past clients, friends, family, and from searches from online stuff. Okay. So that those three added up nationwide are over 70% of the business. So if you're getting your stuff just from social media, do you mind me asking, is it people that have never ever seen you before, never seen anything, never read anything about you that just liked a social media post? Or is it somebody who's actually a friend of yours that's seen something from yours on social media that's warmed up to you?
For me, I would say it's because I'm on different platforms. I don't have like a huge I wouldn't say I have a huge presence, but I'm the otter, so I have a lot of friends that know a lot of friends, right? So when I post something on like social media or even on stories or whatever, um, I'll just interact with somebody first. Like, someone could be like liking your post or something, right? Or liking a story or making a comment or something like that. Um, and then after a while, you kind of build the familiarity with that
Yep.
person.
Yep.
You become
I
their
love how
friend.
you're answering it because this is exactly where I was going with this.
Yeah,
This
I mean, like
you guys might have heard me say this before. I used to be really big on this, and this is how I ended up meeting most of you is through social media. But I use social media to be social, to make connections with people that led to the point where I could call them friends. I mean, Facebook even told me they were friends. I look, oh, Lai is a friend. I'm connected with them. He is your friend. So when you make connections with these people, the social media gods that created these platforms are telling you I'm connected to John Howard. He's my friend, right? So you meet somebody, you connect with them, they see you, they're following you. So I love that you're saying because when you pull the person that's closed, they might not say social media. They might just say, oh, like he was a friend, or he came from my real estate agent. But then your perspective is like, well, it came from social media because I met that realtor through social media, or I met that particular person through a friend of a friend on social media because we were hanging out in this one group, and next thing I know, I met this guy or whatever. So in today's world, these things intersect a lot. And I know some of you are a lot stronger on social media than others, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that just going on social media and trying to find people without a real connection, being connected to organizations, to communities, to agents, to or whatever, it is a harder way to get business unless you're actually making real connections with people. Does that make sense, guys? So what other methods do we have of connecting with friends, family, real estate agents, and or past clients, or possibly having people figure us out or find us with online searches or that kind of stuff, right? What other methods do we have? So,
go out, be social. Lately, for me, it's been pickleball.
okay, cool. So I want to focus on the top three categories. Okay, so let's start out with the smaller category, which is online search. Okay, so what kind of things can we do as a veteran mortgage advisor with online searches that make us stand out more? Okay. Now, I'm going to share a couple things. One of these came from Kai. A couple of Kai's top students, like Tyler Osby, for example, like when they look at their business profile, they take it really seriously. Like I believe Tyler's business profile, if you look at it, he's got a gajillion pictures there of like houses and happily families and all kinds of stuff. You want to go ahead and Google it, take a look at it. But he's making himself really, really darn searchable with his business profile because he's got, number one, he's got lots of reviews, but his business looks cool. There's a lot of pictures going on there too, right? So he's increasing his likelihood of people finding him. Now, I know there's a couple good examples in VMA. If it's any of you, you want to share your profiles, your Google pages, awesome. But and we talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago with Kai on Instagram. Is if you really want to be a specialist and you really want to tell everyone I love VA loans, the example we ended up moving to was Justin in New York, in Shermack. And we took a look at his profiles on Insta and we're like, dang, these really look like this guy loves VA loans. It's all over the place. Well, you can do the same thing like on a Google business profile. I've seen a few people doing it. I know one or two that actually aren't in VMA that I'm like, dude, you got a killer profile. And like, I know one guy tried to get in VMA. Brad and I talked to him a couple times, but I'm looking at like his stacked Google reviews with all the happy veterans. I'm looking at, the Google business page with just all kinds of VA stuff embedded into the business profile. And so that's one thing we can do to potentially get us more VA loans to win in the online space, right? I mean, we can pay for clicks, but does anybody have the budget to do that? Like Rocket or VU or Navy Fed? No, I mean, they're doing that. I don't personally feel like doing that myself. I know friends that do those kind of things, but I don't know. I mean, I'd rather just buy VA leads from a lead seller than try to figure that pay-per-click stuff out. But that's me. All right. So that's one category. Okay. So category number 2, friends and family. And again, we're going to talk about maybe like past clients or getting referred through connections. One thing I talked to Brad about a couple minutes ago, or the call started, I said, Brad, if you go and you're teaching a class to a group of National Guard members or reservists, and when you get in there, what is your goal? Your goal is to educate them. Yes, of course it is. But you also have a goal of trying to connect with these people to the point where you've got their name, their email, or something like that, right? So you're moving them along the trust cycle that hopefully they at some point trust you enough to do business with you. That's how we do more VA loans, right? So yes, we went out and we educated. We didn't get paid for doing that. Our business would collapse if that's all we ever did. If we never wrote loans, we just taught classes. I mean, yeah, if the VA would find a way to pay me, that'd be great. But unless any of you has a trick to getting the VA to pay us to just teach classes, we have to turn these classes into real life transactions, correct? And we like doing it because why? Because we end up liking these customers a lot. We become friends with them. It makes us feel really good about what we're doing. So a classic example of how we might think about this, anybody, you guys know Zig Ziglar, right? You've heard this on other coaching calls, like the whole know, like, trust thing, correct? So you go to the event, you're teaching the class, you've gotten these people to the point where they know you pretty well. They've seen you talk about it. They've seen you teach them about saving money and building credit and how their VA benefit works for, zero down, all these kind of things that you put in your presentation. So hopefully you're fun and you're funny and you were nice and they end up liking you, right? Do they trust you enough to do business yet? Maybe, maybe not. But at some point, that's your goal. I want them to trust me enough to do business with me. So hopefully I have them somewhere in a CRM. I got their name somewhere. They're tagged as a vet that came to a class. And I'm trying to move that relationship along to the point where they send me business or do business with me or refer me somebody, right? So again, that's a method right there. I went out and I'm trying to make more connections of people that might do business with me. We can call them friends, we can call them family, we can call them past clients, but I like to say, like in a case like that, those people are going to go into my future client category, right? So hopefully I got them in a CRM and I'm sending them stuff, right? So that, to me, that's one of the methods that we have in VMA that we're really good at. And it's knowledge-based marketing, right? It's taking the stuff we learn in class, these little slides, and either learning them so well that they're committed to memory that you don't need anybody else in VMA to tell you how to make a post on Facebook talking about something, right? Because you just know it so well. Like you're at John Howard's status. John used to need my help. He doesn't need my help anymore. He knows enough that he can make social media posts about VA home loans on his own without talking to me that look pretty cool. You know, John's like, hey, did you know you can use your VA loan over and over again? He's going to pull his kids into it, and there'll be a pirate, and there'll be somebody falling in a pool, there'll be a porta potty, all that kind of stuff. And he'll do it way better than I will. But there'll be something in there that oftentimes is helping a veteran learn a little bit more about a VA loan. It's knowledge-based marketing. So he's warming up his audience, trying to get him to more the friends and family. So it's not just social media. It's he built a list of past clients, future clients, friends or family or whatever because of the activities of going out in the community and connecting with people. Okay. Now, the reason I was going down that path with messes, these calls I had, I don't want to drop names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I think at least one of the folks is on the call today. At the end of the day, these LOs I was talking to, I said, like, look, strip this back to something Alex Jimenez and I masterminded a few years ago, and we were hanging out with some coach that told us something. We're like, dude, this is gold. And I heard it again a couple of days ago in the conference. It was like, man, if you're struggling, sometimes it's just an equation. It's like the number of loans you have is basically the number of opportunities that you made some kind of offer to somebody, and you know, like, did they say no? Like, at some point, if you make enough offers to people, if you ask enough people if they need you to help, that's kind of an offer in and of itself. Like, hey, I sent everybody a VA tip. If you know anybody who needs a VA loan, you know, reply back to me. One email, your effective rate might be 1%. It might be 0.5%. It might be pretty low. In a one-on-one conversation, that might go up to 10%. Or, you know, realtor, will you send me your next VA buyer? You might get 10 to 15% of the realtors to say yes to that. So that's a little bit more of effective method. But either way, if you're not making offers, if you're not asking people to send you veterans, then all these methods and all these things that you're doing are at some point, the content is great and putting all the stuff out there is great, but you've got to increase the total number of people that you're talking to. And then you got to increase the amount of times you tell them they need to be calling you or need to be doing business with you. Now, some people are better at asking for business than others. Some people barely ask for business and you want to work with them. Some people are super tacky about it. Some people, you know, they're kind of in the middle. I'm probably in the middle. Sometimes people say I am too salesy at times. Sometimes people, you know, but either way, you got to, in some way, shape, or form, insinuate that people should be talking to you and should be talking to your team, right? Now, I'm going to flip back a little bit and I'm going to go back to that realtor category again, because a lot of us get business from realtors. Some of you on this call like hate realtors. I never work with them ever again. Okay, cool. You've built these other pieces of your business up enough that you don't have to go down that path. But at the end of the day, that's still where a lot of loan officers are getting the biggest chunk of their purchase businesses. Now, Jason Wood, you tell me that you go whale hunting. You're not hunting real whales. You're not hunting past clients. You're not hunting, you know, executives in your area that might need loans. You're hunting realtors that you're considering whales, correct?
Correct.
So that, you know, because you've been around the mortgage business enough that there's quite a bit of business to be had, and most loan officers get the biggest chunk of their purchase business through realtors. That's just, it's a stat. It's a fact. And yes, there are other methods. I mean, we just talked about where other loans can come from, but you know, if you're not clear about where your loans are coming from and you say, I don't want to work with realtors, you got to double and triple down on your other efforts in the other categories. So if you're like Jason and you say, I get it, I'm cool with agents, then let's go back to my second bullet point. What's your method? What is your method for getting in front of the realtors? And this is where the last bullet point I have for you guys, what are your assets, right? What are your assets as a veteran mortgage advisor to attract the realtors? Okay. Is it that you just had this cool brand, you call the realtors and say, I kick ass, I piss excellence at VA loans, I'm the VA guy? Sometimes that works. That might have a slightly smaller percentage chance of working than like, I taught a super cool class and then I referred that realtor 6 deals and then like I did all these things and it was great. Cool. That might have a higher conversion rate, but how many opportunities, how many realtors could you get to do that with you? Right. So it's blending that concept of like how many realtors do I need to talk to? And then how many need to send me business? And so there's a lot of ways to work backwards, right? So some of you, I've heard say, if I could just get a few more good realtors. Well, how many good realtors are there in today's market? It seems to be less and less every day, right? But there are still realtors who are eating up market share. And so sometimes you got to reset your brain a little and you got to turn around and work backwards. Jason, how do you figure out that your realtors are whales? You look up their production, right?
Yeah.
You work backwards, right?
Right.
You say, okay, the best use of my time is working with real estate agents that are productive and not real estate agents that close one loan a year. I'm okay with agents that do one deal a year. I'll put them in my database. I'll shake their hand. I might even call them for, 10, 15, 20 minutes a quarter, but I'm not going to put a gajillion joules of energy into chasing them because they're not committed to their career. They're not going to committed to helping me. So at the end of the day, this guy over here, he's really committed. And this is a person I want to work with. And he seems to work with a reasonable amount of vets. If I can teach him how to work with more veterans, if that's my value proposition, or maybe my value proposition is just like every other lender out there. I'm a nice guy. I got great rates and I close fast and I communicate with you a lot. That's okay. If that's the path you want to go down. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But either way, do the things, figure out your value proposition, figure out how to get that person to know, like, and trust you. Go back to some of the classical sales activities. The reason I was going back to this conversation with Alex and, typical Fisher style, I did get a little bit sidetracked, is Alex and I one day were like, we just need more past clients and we need more realtors and then we can be more selective. Right. And we said, well, we can just kind of work with vets too. And he said, yeah, but we're going to meet the vets through the realtors and through our friends. And like Brad keeps mentioning, through the community that we work with. And I love it when we say community, Brad, but I want to just kind of add in that our goal in these communities is to get these people to become friends of ours, right? So it becomes like a friend referral. They know us, they like us. We friend them on Facebook or they follow us on Instagram or whatever, to the point where they feel like our friend. They really do. And so they're sending a referral to Jason as as a business guy, but also, they like you. They like you literally at the same level that a friend would like you. So if we're struggling and we're not out there putting out any information and never asking for any offers, then I don't know what to do. But I see a lot of you that are putting information out there and you are making offers and you're still struggling. Well, I know what to do there. It's take a look at the method. Number one, we got to figure out where are the people that are doing business. If all the messages we're putting out there and all the things we're doing are going after areas where there's no business, we're going to struggle, right? But if we know, like, hey, I can go on like a YouTube or a TikTok app and I can make content where people are going to see it because I do it right and I tag it and I'm kind of like Justin Atterbury and I figured out how to build these YouTubes that people watch, or I'm kind of like Joey Matthews, where I figured out how to make TikToks that people watch. That's great. That's cool. That's another method. But at the end of the day, classically trained loan officers, older school LOs for the last couple decades, we just wanted to add more people and have more opportunities in our database. And you can simplify it all the way down to the how many realtors do I need to talk to a week? How many past clients do I need to talk to a week? Okay. If you go to any of these major like mortgage coach trainings, they'll end up at some point talking about these two topics. Sometimes they miss the past clients and they only focus on realtors. But at the end of the day, how many new realtors would you need to talk to? If you're struggling right now, and the answer is I've talked to 0 new realtors a week, then your goal should be something like I need to talk to, call it 1 new realtor a day. I would prefer that you said maybe 2, but if you talk to 1 new realtor a day and you had 22 business days in the month, you would talk to 22 new realtors a month, right? And if you talk to 22 realtors a month about how much you love VA loans and you ask them, after this call, if you run into a borrower that is a veteran, what are the odds that you would give me an opportunity to work with that veteran with you? You're going to hear no. You probably hear no 80% of the time. If you're good. If you're bad, you might hear no 90% of the time. If you're really good, maybe if you're like silver tongue, like Alex or Brad or Jason, I mean, people love them on the phone. Maybe you're even better. Maybe you're 60% or 70%. But if you talk to that many realtors, yes, maybe they don't have a veteran this month, but most of these realtors are going to come across 1 or 2 a year, at least. Some of them are going to come across 1 or 2 a month. So you can work the math backwards to the point where if you have enough conversations with realtors, that within 4 months, you'd be talking to over 100 realtors. You know, every single one of those realtors is going to come across at least 2 veterans a year. And if you've got them verbally convinced to sending you a veteran, then at some point you've got 200 realtors that would, or 200 clients that could potentially be sold to you. You're like, oh, but Mike, that's wrong because most of them said no. Okay, fine. It's not 200 because you weren't a 100% salesperson. But out of that number, let's say your conversion was 20%. So now you're down to like what, 40, right? That's a good number, right? If I had 40 referrals from veterans, from real estate agents, that's a good number, right? But that sounds painful because I have to talk to one new realtor every day, and I have to add a new person or somehow maintain all my old people. I get it. I get it. But the business isn't easy. People don't make $100,000, $200,000 checks by doing easy things. Sometimes you have to strip things back to things that we know work. So that is one method. Now, the method that a lot of us have used in VMA has been a method of like, hey, I want to go teach some realtors and I'm going to figure out who to teach. And I recommend being more like Jason and looking at production, but I'm going to go teach a class in a real estate board. I'm going to go teach a class in agent. And then I'm going to maybe be a little bit better about figuring out who's production. And I'm going to try to take that class to have some one-on-one conversations from that class. So every time I teach a class, I'm going to find some people that I can have more one-on-one conversations with. And I'm going to add all those things to my database and I'm going to stay in front of them. Okay. So we've got a couple different methods. We've got the asset idea of, taking our VMA content and getting it out there. What are the disciplines that we need to do these things, to stay in front of more past clients, to build more past clients? Like, what kind of things do we need to do? Well, one discipline I just gave you was talking to one new realtor a day. And I'm going to add a second discipline. I would like to see you talk to one new potential friend. We're just going to say friend a day, and maybe somebody that's not a loan officer. Okay. I've got a friend that I've lost track with. I used to be a lot closer to him, but my friend Adam Smith in Colorado, a couple of you might know him, completely built his business on friends. And every time he meets somebody, they go into his Outlook and he basically figures out how to schedule a follow-up call with everybody like that he's ever met that's in his database, like literally an Outlook. He showed us one day how he did it. And we're like, oh, you just use the tool in Outlook and you got all these people in your calendar. And it's like, yep. And every morning from 8 to 10, 2 hours, every single morning, he is talking to people that he knows. Okay. So I'm on his list. He still calls me. It used to be once a quarter. I think I'm at once every 6 months now. Either I'm not on his A list or he's got so many people now that he can't possibly call through the list. And, and ask him about this, he say like, look, man, my goal is to call 10 people every day, but I think I make a list of 15 and I might be getting the numbers off a little bit, but he'd say, probably only get 3 or 4 or 5 on the phone, and I most likely, if I don't make it through that list today, I'll move them to the next day or whatever. But he's like, most of the time I make it through my list and maybe I'm on the phone for an hour and a half, but he's like, I got it blocked for 2 hours. Cause some days I'll get 5 or 6 people on, I'll have good calls. And, I'm reminding all these people who I am and whether they've worked with me or not, they're my friends, they're my family, they're sending me referrals. And, that's a guy who's closed 300 or 400 units in the past. He's a little harder to track down now because he's got loans going all kinds of different people's names and all this kind of stuff. But he still uses the same method to this day of just, building a discipline, taking a method, which is very simply putting people in an Outlook and calling them and just conversing with them. So he doesn't even like brand himself like we do. I mean, we kill it in branding and knowledge-based education. But sometimes what we're missing as loan officers is understanding where our deals come from, understanding the discipline that it takes to bring in more deals, and understanding what our value proposition is. Like what assets do we have? What is our value when we're talking to people? Does that make sense, guys? Now, does this sound like me regurgitating what you've heard other people, mortgage coaches tell you? Probably, right? Yes, a little bit. But if you are somebody who's struggling or somebody that wants to hit a top number, what are you going to change? So for me, after my big event, I don't want to be the guy who just sits at a corporate office and solves VA loan problems. I like writing loans, but I don't have as much time, but I still got an hour or two every day to prospect and write loans. Like I've built my calendar like that. So I'm looking at it going, okay, I still want to talk to one new realtor a day, one new person that can potentially add to my, my friends or family or past client database every day. And then for me, this is where the asset piece comes in. I want one piece of VA content every day. Now, guess what? I'm going to fail a lot. I'm probably going to miss the realtors 2 days a week. I'm probably going to miss my VA content at least one day a week, maybe two. But at the end of each week, I promise you, I'm going to do more and I'm going to add more people to my tiny little goal, which I don't think that goal I just gave you guys is that hard. I can find a realtor that I've known and not talked to or and move them along the process. I can find somebody I know. I got 5,000 Facebook friends and like another 100 or so requests. And yeah, a lot of them are loan officers, but lots of friends and people like friends of friends and all that kind of stuff. All kinds of organizations and people I could talk to. And then, like one piece of content, I'm emailing you guys content. You've seen all these slides. You see all the other VMA LOs posting stuff. If you can't come up with something, like just message one of us. What should I talk about today? Right. So like sometimes I'm watching VMA or somebody asked me a question. Somebody asked me 2 hours ago about circular rescissions. I say, it's going to be my content today. I'm going to put that out there today. So that's what I would leave you guys with is if you are in that goal, I want to grow, I want to struggle, or you're in that space, you're having a hard time setting your goals, I should say, which activities are you going to do? What disciplines are you going to have that allow you to start and continue to grow that side of the business? Okay. What do you got? What do you think, John? Is that crazy or does that make sense? Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, not crazy. It's actually, when you ask what my 2025 plan is I've already started putting together a list of realtors that like the higher number of VA loans. So on Redder, or you can do it in other stuff, but I get my info from Redder, where I've just searched in Texas only, realtors who have done a minimum of 7 VA loans this year. And it went all the way up to, I think 15 or 16 VA loans this year. So those are the realtors that I'm going to basically put in my action plan to try to start having conversations with. My numbers, I'm gonna work them out, see what they are for broken down real estate versus friends, family, online, other referral sources. But I'm about 50-50 VA to other loan products. So the more realtors I can talk to that specialize or do more VA, my goal is to get to 75 plus VA
Well,
percentage.
and you just reminded me, like, I'm going through these disciplines and these daily habits, and I kind of forgot, like, for me, I kind of want a weekly habit of this, but weekly is pretty hard. I've seen people do weekly. I've seen Leroy Romero and Jason Steyer do weekly, and they kind of drove themselves nuts. I talked to Leroy a month ago, and he was like, "Man, I used to try to do a VA class every single week. I'm exhausted. I can't, but I can do 2 a month." But I know a lot of you, that's part of your plan. So, one new realtor, one new past client, one new piece of content, and then one class a month. Like, start somewhere, and if you want to go crazy like my friend Adam and you want to call 15 past clients a day, cool. Have at it, But if you never I was in this conference in Carl White's up there, and he says, like, how many of you called every single person, or I'm sorry. Yeah, he did. He said, how many called everybody in your database from A to Z in the last year? And like nobody's hand went up. And he's like, well, do you know the top producers in my little inner circle? They've actually called all the people in their database in the last 6 months. And some of them have 3,000 people in their database, and most of their business is coming from referrals. And he's like, I'm like, some of these things are not as hard as you think. Just like literally having simple conversations. You don't have to reinvent the wheel sometimes. It's literally just, how do I stay in touch with people that know, like, trust me, will send me business? How do I stay in touch with realtors that have a higher chance of giving me business? The reason I'm going through all this stuff, it sounds boring. It's not as exciting as doing flashy videos, is that some of us are missing this stuff because we're focusing so much on, like, I want to take over Veterans United by making all this crazy killer content. And then we make no content. We don't actually even study how to be good at TikTok or YouTube. And we just think that people will find us and do business with us. And most of the people that I've talked to in VMA that are struggling have some version of that going on. And they kind of think, well, VMA was just teaching me not to work with realtors. Absolutely not. We were teaching you to teach classes to realtors to make the sales process a little bit easier, to hopefully not rely on them as much, to have a bigger database that was, hopefully more veterans, and hopefully more just maybe people that are in your database that aren't past clients. Like, you can add people to your database that don't pass clients, right? You can add people to your home bot that never did a loan with you, right? I mean, think about these things. Add people, and then yes, talk about how you love VA loans all day, every day. Absolutely, that's part of your plan. Teach it like nobody's business, but have a discipline of meeting realtors, talking to past clients, making content, and teaching classes. Okay. Now, we could have started the call where I just said, hey, 4 things, do more of these 4 things. You guys said, that's boring. That's the same shit I do all the time. But I was trying to get to the point where you understand this is where most people's business is coming from. And the top people in our industry, and certainly in VMA, they all do various versions of these tasks, right? Some of them, of course, they can offload. Some of them offload, they're dialing to other people and all that kind of stuff. But I promise you, it's not just all cold content. It's warming people up, getting them to follow and know you. Why do you think Veterans United gets these deals? It's not just because of the pay-per-click stuff. It's they pay for all the traffic, and then they warm the people up, get them to the friend zone with their websites and with their content. People see VU, they go watch, and whether we like their content or not, I mean, Brad and I have talked about this. Their website's got lots of stuff on it. You can read lots of stuff about VA loans. You can pull lots of videos. You can pull lots of, to the point where you trust that brand like it's a friend, right? So we can all build that stuff, and I'd love us all to build that kind of stuff. But if we, while we're trying to build all that stuff, are not closing business and not asking ourselves, like, what are most referral-based loan officers doing? And we kind of forget all the loan officer activities that actually work. We're costing ourselves and our families, right? So cool. All right. That's what I got. That's what I got. John, the percentage breakdowns for the top 3. All right. I will see if I can share this. I'm going to put it, John, you're in the elite chat, right?
I am.
Okay. Here you go. I'm going to put it in the elite chat right now. Okay. Because it's on my phone, it's not on my laptop, but I'll drop it in the elite chat. Veteran Mortgage Advisor Elite. All right, there you go. I just put it in the elite chat, but it's
Cool.
27% friends or family. But again, I think like you can that can be, there's a lot of ways you can construe that. 35% real estate agent, 14% bank. The bank one I didn't touch on today, but man, there's lots of banks out there that don't do VA loans as good as us or have all kinds of overlays. And if you can find people, those banks to refer to you, I know a lot of you already do that. I personally do that too. So, all right. Online search. Again, some of you are better than others. Like Joey Matthews is killing it with online search. His personal online search number is probably more like 30%. But his friends and family number is probably like the other 70%, which is it's all past clients, people he knows and stuff like that. And his real estate agent, breakdown's probably like 10%. So cool. Thanks, John. I don't know if you're still here, but I'm hoping that was valuable stuff because I think that can help you at any level where you're at, whether you're already a whale loan officer like Jason and John, closing good numbers. You got to step back, break down where you're getting business from, figure out where your new sources are, and figure out your disciplines and activities that you're going to do rolling into next year. So Jason, I respect you a lot because you do so many loans. Are you agreeing with what I'm saying here? I value your opinion.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. I mean, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, like when we were all killing it in 20 and 21, I was doing all the activities with realtors and such that we're supposed to be doing, but my focus was off, right? I was working on the ones that were feeding me, which were mediocre agents who today, now that the market shifts, are down to 1 or 2 transactions a year, right? Which means I'd have to have a gazillion of those guys to survive. And I was focused so heavy on building Instagram. I thought I was going to be the Instagram king, generate a ton of business that way that, yeah, I was making a lot of money because we all were. I mean, mortgages were raining from the sky, right? But that all hit me really hard in 2022. And I had to really start shifting gears and my focus of my energy and where I was allocating that. And, just getting back to some of the basics, like you realize, like just get on the phone, get through the database, be strategic about the realtors I was going to pursue. And, I had to kind of recraft my value proposition also, because getting in front of the big producing agents is not the same as getting in front of like a low level mediocre agent, right? They'll meet you for a free coffee because they got nothing better to do and they'd love a free cup of coffee, right? But the top producers, they're jamming. Like they don't want to meet with you. They don't have time to meet with you. They could give a damn about your coffee, right? Like, so you have to have an angle with them and the ability to have a conversation that gets their intrigue up enough to at least give you 15 minutes. And it could be on a Zoom. Like it doesn't even have to be at the coffee shop, right? And so I give them that option now because I'm like, look, you're busy, man. Let's just hop on a Zoom real quick. Let me tell you what I got. If you think there's an opportunity, we can meet and discuss more, and I won't waste your time. So
I like what you just said there. You're taking what I had earlier called an asset. Like, what's your strength? Because you're a VMA guy, and whether you were in our program or not, I mean, you have the core values that we have here of just pissing excellence on VA loans. So that's one of the things you bring to that conversation, right? I mean, you combine that with those activities, and your conversion rate goes up, right? So
yeah, and I'm 95% VA. Like,
I love it.
My pipeline, I think I got one loan in there that's not a VA loan right now, and it's a HELOC.
I love it.
I love it. So that's the thrust of my business, and I'm working on making some shifts, as we go into next year as well, because I'm pretty heavy weighted on realtors, and the thing that frustrates me the most, as I'm sure everyone here can attest to with realtors, is they're not very loyal. And so I always feel like I'm in that acquisition mode. I'm always trying to get the next realtor and the next 3 realtors. And it's like, it's exhausting. Like, let's be honest. Like some of my coaches and stuff in my coaching program, we have this conversation candidly, and they're burnt too. And they do 10X the numbers I do and constantly trying to acquire new realtors. And it's a grind, right? So my focus as we turn the calendar year, and I'm putting a lot of prep into it now, is really going to be attracting the consumer first and getting to that consumer first. And then my value proposition to the realtors are going to be different. I'm still going to go after only the top producers, but now I'm going to be able to come forward with them after testing and having some numbers and say, hey, I can generate X amount of pre-approved, rock solid, ready to go VA buyers. Can you handle any more buyers? Let's have a chat. And then we work on an agreement between the two of us that puts me in a position to get their other business also, by me saying, hey, I control the spigot. So if you want more veterans in your book of business, I'll be your outlet for it, but we got to be working hand in hand. And so that's my objective as we go into next year, to be less reliant on the realtor.
Now you actually have a chance of competing with Veterans United, because that's what they do. They pay for the clicks, they get the people into their ecosphere, they try to convert them, they try to refer them out to the realtor. They try to make money off the realtor referral because they realize the realtor's never going to refer them back because they are bad lenders.
Yeah.
Right. So, but they still outproduce us because yes, they win the race to the client, but we can't win the race to the client playing in their space. We have to win a different race. We have to win with our better social media content. Cool. That's one of the things we do. But just that and alone for most of us is still a small percentage, that 3, 4, 5, 15. And I love how you put your stats up there. You were better than most loan officers in that, without a doubt. But your 2 biggest categories still align with most loan officers in the industry, like I was saying. So, I mean, again, understanding that you're like light years ahead of most LOs, but I know that's the kind of guy you are. I mean, you've done the coaching and you understand this is what happens in these high end coaching programs that people pay thousands of dollars for. They get really granular about where business is coming from and what things they can do to tweak how to get more business out of, hopefully all those sectors. But for many of us in VMA, we want to do more of that online stuff because we want to compete with Veterans United, but we can't walk away from our past client database and our realtors. I mean, there's many connections in there. Fine, I don't want to call realtors anymore. Okay, you already know a bunch of them. Have somebody else on your team call the people that already like you. I don't want to call my database anymore. Have somebody on your team call these people. Have somebody do something with all these people you already have a relationship with. If you want to put all your energy in online content, just at least because you got a good chance of getting deals out of this database. I did a really cool call with Mark Sullivan, who was at our St. Louis event, and TJ Barker a couple months ago. We had a whole series, and we kept coming down to this one point. I guess I shouldn't say call, it was a series, because we did it every month for like 4 months. And each time when we would do this call, it was like a webinar for agents. We would talk about the percentage of anybody's database that, like you already own a house. Let's just say that. I'm not talking about first time buyers, but the percentage of people that move every single year. And in a good year for most realtors, and again, we were teaching realtors, it's like 11%. Okay. In a bad year, oh my God, it's bad. It's terrible. It's 2023. It's 2024. It's 20, whatever. In a bad year, it might be as low as 6 or 7%. In a good year, it might be as high as 15%. Like in a great year, it might be 18. But either way, you've already got a bunch of people that are moving every single year, and you're not even talking to them, right? So same thing, LO. They're in your database. They already own a house. They're actually refinancing probably as much as they're moving, if not more in many cases. But who cares? Stay in touch with them anyways. I don't want to call my database because rates are tight. Your database still has, how big is your database, Jason? 1,000 people?
I mean, total is probably like 6,000, but that's realtors and stuff too. So probably 4,000 non-realtors.
Okay, so non-realtors that own houses, out of those 4,000 people, are those all people that own houses?
No. I mean, some of those are leads and
Okay, so let's just say 1,000 of them own houses, or 2,000. What's a good
Sure.
number?
Let's
1,000.
say 1,000. Yeah.
Okay, 1,000 of those people own houses. They're your past clients. You've done their loan. Okay, most likely in the next 12 months, 100 of those people are going to move.
Yep. Absolutely.
100 opportunities right there. The average LO is converting like 10 to 15%. Really good LO is converting 20 to 30, and excellent killer LO is getting more than 20%. But there's opportunities right there with people that hopefully already like you, that a lot of us are missing. And so that's why we go back and we do these things. It's like, okay, I don't have time to do all these things. No, but you hopefully have time to put a few better systems in place. I just email these people all the time. Ugh, okay, well, let's try to figure out how to call some of these people once in a while, once a week. And when you go into some of these coaching programs, I know like the Carl White one and the Scott Groves one and whatever. Okay, fine. Every Tuesday, I call X amount of people from my database or whatever for an hour. It's some kind of plan that's different than the plan that's not working, right? I used to have a favorite saying, which is like, my shitty marketing or my terrible marketing is better than your zero marketing, right? So my terrible database phone call or my piss poor call to the real estate agent with cold coffee is better than you if I'm competing with you in the same market, Jason, or, apparently we compete all over the country. So technically I guess I am. But if I'm talking to my people occasionally, that's better marketing than you never talking to them, right?
Of course.
So,
yeah.
So
But one of the things I do, and I'm not a pro at it. I suck at calling past clients, as most loan officers do.
Mhm.
And there's all sorts of different methodologies on how to attack that list. The one that works for me the best, just mentally, is calling those clients who I closed, like, for example, in November, the last 2 or 3 years. So my past client calls this month are all going to be people who closed in the month of November in the last couple of years. So the call's a little bit easier of like, hey, can you believe it's been a year? Oh my gosh, it's been 2 years since we closed on your house. Like it just feels like an easier call rather than doing like pick the alphabet letter thing, like everyone that closed with the last name A, call them this month. Well, it's like, those people may have closed yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, so that would be a weird call. So that's the way I do it. It seems to be, I don't know. It's easier for me just to kind of bite the elephant.
Yep.
In
Yep.
that
And
size
there's, I mean, we can go through, we can do scripts and things like that. And if you guys really think that's important, maybe we'll do that in the next few weeks. But I like the productions on this. I already shared this idea with Scott Groves today, because I spent the last couple of days with a lot of high level people and had some calls, and so I'm gonna have Scott come in next week. And he's gonna come in, and because he's been doing a lot with planning, and he's been doing a lot of like you got to have a good plan to do all these activities, right? So we're going to be talking more about that next week with Scott. So cool stuff.
Can I ask one quick question,
Yeah.
Michael? Jason, maybe